Good morning and welcome to Daily Faith today. My name is Philip Cameron and I am absolutely delighted to have you with us today. We have got a tremendous show coming up. If you love your pastor, I want you to get in contact with him right now because listen to me. I've got a pastor friend that's on today. Just met him just a few minutes for the first time. And I know that I've made a lifelong friend. He is doing something that I believe that every pastor in this country should be doing. If not personally, they should be encouraging themselves to get involved in government. Listen to me. We can sit and pray. There's an old story about the mayor was being an election for the mayor, and one was an evil, vile man, and the other was a saintly man. So the churches all got together and says, we're going to have a day of prayer on election day. The churches were packed with people praying. It was amazing. Unity. The Baptists went to the Methodists and joined the Pentecostals, and man, they're all just so excited. Well, look, we're praying. So when the election was counted that night, the evil man won with a landslide. And the pastor had a committee the next morning. He says, what on earth happened? All that prayer yesterday, what did we miss? What they missed was they were all so busy praying that they forgot to vote. And we have spent our time praying and, oh, dear God, save America. Let me tell you how you save America. You get on the school board, and you get in the city council, and you get in the mayor's office, and you get in state office, and national office. And if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves while they're in the governorship, and while they're in the Senate and House, and when they're in the city council, then I will hear from heaven. We need to put ourselves in the position of power because the world doesn't take the church seriously. They think we're all a bunch of comedians, and they laugh at us and as they promote their beer for transgenders and God knows what else Target and the like of these people do. And even Chick-fil-A is affected by it now. We need to stand up for Jesus and be counted in these days. So you're going to meet a pastor friend. Eric Camp is going to bless you today. I'm telling you, get your pastor to watch this program because you are going to be blessed by it. We're about to start the program in a couple of seconds. I can't wait to start today. I'm delighted to have you with you. Welcome to Daily Faith. Hey, welcome to Daily Faith. My name is Phil Cameron, and boy, do we have a great show today. I am excited to have my guest with us, Eric Camp, from a great church in Pascagoula, Mississippi, which is, I had a mustache hair jump in my mouth, which is one of my old hunting grounds. I spent months and months in Pascagoula and met some of the most lovely folk in the world, Howard Rush and his darling wife, Sarah, and just a whole bunch of people that I just fell in love with Pascagoula. And when I realized he was on the show today, I feel like I'm talking to an old friend, and I'm just excited. He is doing something right now that I think every pastor in America should get involved with. Our own pastor here, my personal pastor here in Montgomery, in Tennessee, in Clinton, we've encouraged him to get the church involved. One of our young men ran for the judgeship of our town, and he is now the judge. So we're going to be talking about being involved in government today as Christians, and I think that's a very important subject. My son Andrew is in Moldova today. In fact, this morning he flew in overnight, got in early this morning, went straight into a meeting with all the leadership of the ministry there, and he sent me this. I just got this literally on my iPhone, and they're going tomorrow to Ukraine, into the war zone, real close to where you've been watching on the news where they bombed that dam. It is an ecological disaster. It is a humanitarian disaster. These are some bullet points he sent me a few minutes ago. 80 settlements at risk of flooding, 80 towns. Water continues to flood Kherson, Nova Kakhovka, and other cities and towns, taking lives and destroying the Ukrainian ecology. Over 200,000 residents of surrounding settlements at risk of losing access to drinking water. 200,000 people are going to be without drinking water. And I mean, this thing is only beginning. over 16,000 people are living on the right bank of the Kherson Oblast have already found themselves in the critical zone, with 9 settlements already completely or partially flooded. There is a threat of nuclear disaster due to possible cooling issues at the temporarily occupied, and I can't pronounce it, nuclear power plant. 150 tons of machine oil, heavy oil, thick oil, have been contaminated, contaminated the Dnipro River, and there's a risk of a further 300 tons leaking. Lowering the level in the reservoir below 12 meters will lead to an ecological disaster. A large amount of the flora and fauna have been lost. So this is a disaster that's unfolding. And as you know, 6 years ago, we began ministry there. For those that don't know, we have homes in Moldova, a village called Vatra Village, an amazing place where young women are taken from orphanages at the risk of being trafficked. And we take them to our village, put them back in school. And these kids, these amazing kids, have become missionaries. And when the war broke out, these kids began to feed the refugees and go up. In fact, they're leaving tomorrow to go back up into Ukraine, where they have feeding ministries, regular programs run by orphans. Our kids do this by themselves. So Andrew is going up there tomorrow, and so pray for him, pray for his safety. This is not an easy trip that he's on. It's 20 days long. He goes tomorrow to Ukraine for several days. We're buying a home in Odessa. We're buying a home in a war zone. We've occupied this house and had it for 6 years, but the owner wants to leave, so we're buying it because we want to have a presence there. If the Russians win, that house will be needed. If the Ukrainians win, that house will be needed. So pray for him, for his safety, and for all of the red tape. The whole country is in a terrible mess right now. Government-wise, there's just no way to know what's happening. And so to buy anything, it's a really tedious and painful process. He's also going to southern Moldova, where we're hoping to open a house for the first time in a different part of Moldova, one of the poorest spots right on the Ukrainian border. And then once he does that, he is going to Turkey. We've been there already, where we are helping victims of the earthquake. The news has completely ignored this. It is the biggest disaster. Listen to me. It is the biggest disaster ever. There is no disaster bigger than what's taking place in Turkey. And because it happened in the election cycle, Erdogan, who just won the election, tried to keep this out of the news because the people of Turkey would have got mad at him for how poorly these buildings were built and how poorly the rescue had gone. In one city, Antalya, where Andrew went with a team from our kids in Moldova, drove one of our vehicles down to deliver things. 1.6 million people in that city, and it was 90% destroyed. When they were there, they had dug out 20% of the buildings and found 50,000 bodies. It is a disaster, and they're going back again to buy more family tents and more food. We were asked by the pastor, and they says, "There's all the tents you bought." We bought 50 family tents. They're all full. And all the food we bought 40-pound boxes, and we delivered hundreds of these boxes to people. And it was an amazing outreach, and we're doing it again. So that's where he is. So please pray for him. They sent me a video just a couple of weeks ago, and let me show you this, give you an idea of what we're doing, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. Watch this.
I can do all things through Christ, who strengthens me. Philippians 4, verse 13. If I had given up, I might not have made it this far. Maybe I wouldn't even exist anymore. My name is Veronica, and I come from a family of 3 children. At the age of 6, my mother chose to abandon me. I don't know the exact reason why she left, but she took my older brother with her, and I stayed with my younger brother and father. After she left, my dad turned to alcohol. He spent every penny on it, leaving us with nothing. It was very difficult for me because all the household responsibilities fell on my shoulders. I had to take care of him, to do the cleaning and cook at 8 years old. I didn't go to school much, if I went out and played with other children, my father would beat me because I wasn't at home doing the cleaning or cooking for him. Also, he would wake up at night and demand food from me. Because of this, sometimes I wouldn't eat so that he could eat. Because if I didn't give him food, he would beat me until I would bleed. My younger brother would always pull him from behind, begging and crying, "Don't beat her, Daddy, don't beat her." But he would still continue to beat me. For a long time, it was very painful for me to watch other children playing in the park with their families. And I would often start crying in the streets while watching them hug or hold hands. Because I wanted to feel what it's like to have someone who loves you, who takes care of you, or what it feels like when a mother buys you a dress. Those feelings overwhelmed me, and I even tried to end my own life for many times. But I'm thankful that I am here now, and I have another day. When I finished high school, I dreamed of continuing my studies, but there was no way. I desperately searched for help, and God answered my prayers through the orphan's hands. Now, I want to say a heartfelt thank you for everything you do to give us a second chance at life. My encouragement to all of you is to never give up, no matter what life throws at you. Keep trying, because you'll make it in the end. And don't forget to trust in God, because He blesses us abundantly.
Don't you love the gospel? One of our girls, amazing kids at Vatra Village, and they come to us as orphans or from desperate positions as she came. And once they come to us, they become our sons and daughters, and then they become missionaries. And that young girl is a fearless missionary going into war zones. They called me a few weeks ago in the middle of the night, and they said, "Listen, can you hear this?" And I heard the wails of sirens because there was a missile attack. And I said, "Aren't you afraid?" And they said, "No, God is on our side." And I said, "Well, you're more Christian than I am." And these kids need your support, need your help. If you could help us support the ministry that we have in Moldova and Ukraine, you can give a one-time gift of any amount, whatever the Lord leads you to do, or you can become a monthly sponsor, be part of our family. And $1 a day won't change your world, but I promise you $1 a day changed her world. And I want you to be a part of a miracle. Please believe it. The address is very simple. It's P.O. Box 25 in Clinton, Tennessee, and 36. They haven't put the address up. P.O. Box 25, 37716. There you go, 37716. And you can make a check out to the Orphan's Hands and be a part of this miracle that we are witnessing every single day. We love you so much. I'm so thrilled to have my guest with me today. I believe that this is the first of many visits he's going to have with us, because here's a pastor that is pastoring a successful church, a great church in Pascagoula. But he has decided not just to sit on the sidelines in the church, but to get involved in the affairs of government. And he's running for Mississippi House District 11, and I'm going to be praying that God give him the victory. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to Eric Camp. Pastor Eric, God bless you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. What an honor it is to be here. Thank you so much. And it's House District 111, by the way.
It's a type 1R thing. It's not, they wrote 11, and it's 111. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Tell us about your church and what God's led you to do as far as running for this position.
Well, I served on the Ocean Springs School District School Board for 5 years, from 2016 to 2021 through COVID, and had my opportunity to kind of get my feet wet a little bit in the political climate. Always had an interest in political involvement. I ran a mayoral race in 2004 in the city of Oxford, Alabama. And we moved to the coast in 2004 with a heart for a life-giving church. And Katrina came, and we were fortunate enough to be blessed with some financial revenue to launch the church officially in 2009. And so the church is doing great. We've seen thousands of people surrender their lives to Jesus, which is really what our heart is. And but I also believe that those of us that are of the Christian faith, we shouldn't just be meeting in buildings. We are the church, and so we
Yes,
should
sir.
be out in the world making the difference that I believe that ultimately we're called by Christ to make. And government is one of those areas. And I really kind
Yes.
of have a conviction there because I believe that the church has been quiet for too long. Pastors have been too quiet, and I'm not talking about protesting and boycotting. I'm talking about just making a difference, being
Yes,
significant,
sir.
and making an influence, especially for our conservative Christian values. And as we all know, our nation is in turmoil, and we need godly people to stand up
Yes.
to endure, I guess, the frustrations of the political climate. My eyes have been opened a good bit running this state race, but I really feel led to do this. And, we're just excited to hopefully have the opportunity to serve the people of Mississippi, especially in District 111.
I really feel that what you're doing is critical in these days. America was built, and let me explain this to folk that maybe have forgotten. America was built with the church house as the center of our world. The church was the schoolhouse. The church was the hospital. The church was where everyone congregated. It was the reason why churches are in the center of our towns, these old towns you go through, is because the church was the center of our town. And as government expanded, let me tell you something, there's nothing good about any government expansion because all they're doing is taking power and authority away from your life and sucking it into this monolith that you can, once they get power from you, you can try all you want and talk to whoever you want and they'll put you on a merry-go-round that you'll never get to where you need to go to get the answer you're looking for. And it's time that America understand that we are the people. We, the people, is us, you and me. And instead of giving it away to whether it's a state house or a White House or a House of Representatives or whatever, every time we cede power to them, we are taking one step further away into big government. I am from Scotland. I am from the United Kingdom. And I have watched in my short life, well, relatively short life, I have watched little by little the power being drained to London. And what happens is these men no longer are interested in you. They're interested in their budgets and raising as much money as they can in their political action committees, etc. And you and I are the last thing on their mind. It's only how do I get elected? And all this capers and carry-ons you're seeing just now, our government has been sold to China and Ukraine and Romania for kickbacks. And you can't weed it out, and we all know it's a fact, and we all see it, and you know in your bones that it is. But what they do is they've now got whole agencies of government that are running defense to protect the status quo. And it takes men like Pastor Eric Kemp that will stand up and say, this is the way we should be going. And we need to dismantle all of this stuff that's been built falsely on a false premise.
Absolutely. The nation. No, you're fantastic. I mean, that's a good sermon. So we got to have you back to Pascagoula. We're going to make that happen.
I'd love to do that.
The nation is divided because the church has been divided as well.
Yes,
we're
sir.
fighting amongst ourselves and dividing ourselves. And you've heard the old saying, that the church is the only entity and the only force that actually shoots its own wounded.
Yeah,
and interestingly enough, our political climate has been taken over by those that want to serve for careers. I'm not a career politician. I have no intention of that. I have signed the term limits pledge, and I believe that there should be term limits for Congress.
So do I.
And I'm a very small government kind of guy. I lean a little more even libertarian in some of my philosophy, because I don't believe Washington should be educating our kids in Pascagoula and in Ocean Springs and wherever.
Absolutely not.
And so we've just got so much indoctrination that's taken place from the bureaucracy of Washington that people have just
let me say this, not just educating our kids anymore, Eric, they're genderizing our kids. They're telling your kids, you're not really a girl, you feel like a boy, and you and me will keep the secret and we'll just take care. Don't worry, don't tell your mom and dad. What kind of nutcases are we putting in power?
Absolutely. And that is how far that it's gone. And I think that the Christians have been asleep for so long, and we've allowed, and again, I'm not talking about boycotting on the sidewalks. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about getting involved. I think the church has been so conditioned to go to our buildings and sing our songs and hear our sermons, but do nothing. I love what you said. We just think we can pray and things will happen. No, I do believe we need the supernatural presence of God, but he has called us. Faith without works is dead. We've got to
Yes, sir.
do something. And
Yes,
and
sir.
so, and I hope and pray that more people of faith will rise up and run for office. School boards are probably some of the most important positions I think elected, and that's one of the reasons why even on my platform in the state of Mississippi, if municipalities actually appoint school board members, and there's some that are actually in unincorporated areas like myself are actually voted in, I believe that all the school boards should be elected. I believe the constituency of whether you live in a
Yes.
city or in a county should have the opportunity to vote for who's representing
Yes.
the schools. And
Yes.
so there's again, I'm a little. I guess you would say again when it comes to politically. I mean, I'm all for. I've stayed on the sidelines. I've served on the school board, but it's time. Some of the books that have been able to get into our libraries and our schools, this
Pornography.
indoctrination, it's absolutely bizarre, and I just can't sit and just sit by and watch it happening. Now, again, my opponents, I'm running against two conservative men, two attorneys here locally. They're good guys. I don't believe that they would do a bad job, but I do believe that my experience and then my faith which is going to lead my charge,
Absolutely.
obviously sets me apart a little bit from that, because I'm just to the point to where I'm not going to comply to the way the system has been.
Hallelujah.
The system
Thank God.
written. The system is the word of God, and we've got to get back to
Yes.
that that needs to be our compass. That's our absolute truth.
I can't believe that we have gone. And what I found, I'm sure you see the same thing, Eric. What's happening is it seems like the decline is getting steeper all the time. For a long time it was like this, and back in with school and prayer and then abortion, but suddenly it's come to a tipping point, and the hill that was once a hill is now a cliff. And anyone that speaks for any what aggravates me, and I'm amazed at their boldness. They talk about banning books. Oh, you people are banning books. Yes, the books we want to ban is pornography. But they twist the argument so evilly that you're defending this negative thing. And if you talk about a man and a woman, there's only two genders. They explode all this garbage and filth upon you, when anyone with any kind of intelligence knows that God made man and God made woman, and that is who marriage is between a man and a woman, because the reason for marriage was for replenishing the earth and for having children. And you can try all you want, but two guys can't have girls, and two girls can't have babies, and two girls can't have. And they have taken the things that are normal common sense stuff, and they've so twisted them that if you stand for righteousness, you're every kind of phobe in the world. And the only way we can stop that, folks, you can sit and tut at home and look at your TV every night on the news, and there's more outrage every single day. And I'm glad that this situation with the beer company, I've never drank beer in my life, but I'll tell you what, they've paid a horrendous price, because just the common folk of America just said, nah, I can't go down that road any further. And I feel in America that there's a switch, there's a turn back, that we've allowed them to do it because we're generous people. And you move over a bit, and you move over a bit, and you say, well, okay, fine. But suddenly you get to a point when you're about to fall out of that bed, and you think, hold on a second. And I think that's what's happening. And you, I believe, are part of a wave of men and women. They're going to stand up and say, I want to get back to where the levers of power is and declare the work of the Lord in this country, because this country wouldn't be where we are without the power of the gospel made manifest amongst us.
Absolutely. And it's maybe that's the straw that has broken the camel's back. Maybe the church has come alive now to realize, and I do believe there's a lot of things that we see transpiring that's probably theologically evidence in what we're going to see happening in the last days. I believe that by all means. But at the same time, I try to tell our church all the time, be the change you want to see changed.
Absolutely.
So if you want to make a difference, make the difference where you are. The Lord wants to bless us with more opportunity, but he's got to see that we're faithful with the opportunity we already have before us. And and so I'm just excited about the opportunity to just to connect with people. Some of the greatest people on the face of the planet live in District 111 and the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And I'm just excited about the privilege and opportunity, hopefully, to be able to serve in that capacity. And because there is, I think we're past due for time for the conservatives really to,
yes, sir.
hey, you know what? we're not going to stand for this. You know, we're not just going to sit idly by and let this continue to happen. It's time that we rise up.
And the thing is this, that I'm awestruck at the ability of Democrats and the left. I've got some Democratic friends that are great people, and we banter back and forth, and there's love and care for both sides. When you get to the lunatic left, that's where I start hardening my position. But what we need to do as the church is to understand is if the church, they clump together, and they're an immovable force because they'll swallow all kinds of stuff to keep the ideology alive. Whereas in the right, conservatives will pick on each other because this guy's got divorced or this guy's got this going on, and we'll fracture ourselves into small groups, and we'll lose the game, and we'll lose the whole war by trying to get one individual victory. And if your church, and let me talk to you, Pastor, if your church were to come together and say, this is what we're voting on, we're standing for righteousness, and this man is the one that we see most closely resembles what our faith belief is, the church by itself could turn this country around in one election. And unless we get bigger than what we are and see that vision first. Oh, I don't like Trump. There's a lot of stuff in Trump's life that I don't, but I'll tell you what, he's the best president we've had since Ronald Reagan. He did things that no one else could have done. He had appointed Supreme Court justices that has never been done before. He opened up a whole bunch of things. The Johnson Amendment that allowed free speech and the church to speak from the pulpit. He broke that down. I hear pastors, I could never vote for Trump. I voted the last time, but I can't vote again. I'm going to vote for this one. What we'll do is we'll fracture ourselves into one whole mess, and we'll be saying, well, who believes that President Biden won again? It's a miracle. We've got to focus ourselves on the prize of getting back to power so we can make an eternal difference for the kingdom of God in this country.
There's a lot of people in the Bible we see that had some character flaws and issues. And I think we tend to forget that. You know, we're Christ followers before we're Republicans, and we're Christ followers before we're Democrats. And I think that if the church, regardless of which way you lean, if you allow your compass to be the absolute truth of who Jesus is, you know, that in itself, and allowing the Holy Spirit to give the wisdom that we need, you're going to be able to discern. You know, there's a lot of character flaws. I could go through, you know, just about everyone in the scriptures that had character flaws, but who's going to stand boldly that doesn't have favors that has to be repaid, that doesn't have political pacts that they belong to, that they've got to do whatever that money's coming from. And that was one thing I think that made Trump successful. He wasn't a politician and he didn't know any favors. And, you know, and that's my wife and I in this campaign, you know, we've had some contributions. There's been people that have given, but we haven't solicited because we wanted to self-fund because I didn't want to owe any favors. And so either way, you know, and of course we welcome contributions, but at the same time, you know what you're getting. I'm not going to lean a certain way just because you made a substantial contribution, because my convictions will not allow me to do that. That's called integrity, and we need integrity.
We have 1 minute left. I want you to put up your email address on the screen, so folk watching, I want you to pray for this man. If you want to give, I'd love you to give to help his campaign. It's very simple. EricCamp.net. EricCamp.net. So simple. And if you believe in justice, and if you believe that righteousness exalts a nation, I want you to get in contact with him. Make a donation by all means. If ever in the Pascagoula area, you go and see Collective Church. It's a great church, big church, anointed church. Eric, thank you so much for being with us today. We haven't talked about spiritual things. Well, we have, but I want to get you back soon, so I want to hear you preach. Thank you so much for being with me, my brother. God bless you.
For over 25 years, the Cameron family has been changing the lives of orphans in Romania and Moldova. From providing running water, flushing toilets, and clean wells, to coal for heat, new windows, as well as food and clothing. They champion the physical needs of the orphans in these broken and desolate countries. Many of Moldova's orphans are saved from the horrors of trafficking through homes founded by the Camerons, and in the process, orphans become daughters and sons. They come to know their Heavenly Father and are forever changed by the love of Jesus. God help the Camerons lift these amazing young men and women out of darkness. Now, no longer orphans, they want to return and invade that very same darkness with the light of Jesus Christ. The Orphans' Hands equips these daughters and sons to become missionaries. Your monthly gift of $31 will allow us to rescue and take in more girls and boys, saving them from the hell of human trafficking. Your monthly partnership will allow us to care for those in the Orphans' Hands homes in Moldova and the Ukraine. If you want to join Philip and Chrissy in taking care of these precious young people, please contact us today by calling 833-DAILY-FAITH. You can also give by going online to www.dailyfaith.tv or by writing to Post Office Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee 37716. So many lives depend on what we do. Thank you for loving the lost.